Prithvi. Well, hello. And Chris Conover joined us. Hello. Oh, Prithvi, are you going to say hi?
Hi, hi.
Hello.
Where are you from?
I'm from India, ma'am.
Oh, welcome.
Welcome.
Early morning.
Yes,
in
early
India.
morning
Yes,
there.
very early.
And
Yeah, ma'am,
Catherine
it's early.
Klein, you're calling from Canada?
New York City.
Oh, it's
Oh.
late there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So we have,
That's how I can attend a lot of the UN functions. Yeah, here.
I see. Okay, very good. Okay, well, let's get started. I'm very excited. Hello. And I'm going to run
Sure.
through my PowerPoint that you have seen a million times, but just like to share it as our welcome. And so welcome everyone to our December ACAP webinar. Very happy to have you all here. Positive Images of Aging Across Asia Pacific. And as you know, we have members around the world, and we're so happy to have members from the continental US, all the way from New York City to India today on this call, and all the countries in between, many of the countries in between. So our mission is to share friendship and best practices for active aging. And I have to say that when you join ACAP, you make friends, and the friends here are just very special because we're very like-minded. We're very interested in active aging, but we're also very, very kind to each other. So welcome to the ACAP family, everyone. We have a bulletin. We have webinars. We try to attend conferences, although we haven't done that except online for a while since COVID started. But our webinar series has kept us quite busy. So this is just a review of the topics from 2022, and you can see by the month, and there's 3 J's there because we had 3 webinars in July and none in August, June and July. And now we're on December at our party and talking about positive images of aging. And we've started to develop our lineup for next year. So we have some, now if you see your name there, thank you. It is okay. But at our last meeting, this is the lineup that we started to talk about. And so we'll be developing this when we have our next board meeting, but looking at vulnerabilities of adults affected by war, community resilience after COVID, and then a series on active aging in Singapore, in Korea, in Japan. We're hoping for Australia. Irene doesn't know her name is there yet. We don't know if Brian wants to talk about active aging in New Zealand. So certainly, or Catherine. Catherine would actually be a good person to talk about what's going on at the UN and aging. So we like to hear from our members. So please send us ideas for that. And that 3 Instruments of Peace from Teresa is about end-of-life planning in Hong Kong. So these aren't the final titles, but you're just to give you a flavor of what's coming down the pike. And then we're also co-sponsoring a study tour with the Pass It On Network out of Europe. And it is Transition to Aging Society, with featuring several days in Singapore and several days in Seoul to learn about their active aging initiatives. You'll be learning more about that over the course of the year. But today we're going to do positive images of aging, and we've had requests from Dong-hee and Teresa to go first. So they're up first, and then Thelma, then Brian, Ed, and Takeo. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Dong-hee, are you sharing the whole thing? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will try.
Okay.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy this year December party, the issue of the positive aging. So our institute always emphasizes the positive aging and the active aging and the well aging. So today's issue is the very important with the super aged society. I will sharing in Korean positive aging. Of course, I would like to sharing the internet navigators. So now every people do teaching and then preparing everything by older people. They are over 80. So still they are working and they're teaching, training computer and the smartphone, something like that. So last week, our navigators on TV, so that I would like to share with you shortly. Oh. Oops.
You might have to hit escape. Oh, no, there it goes.
Yeah. It was the very popular TV. So even this is in Korean, but on big apartments there is the so in Busan, there are many population of started the super aged society. So the mass media, looking for the models, the active aging and then positive aging. So she was for a long time, over the 20 years as the internet navigator. So she introduced on TV showing this one. She is now 76 years old, but still she is teaching on the Photoshops every day for older person. Okay, so this is the very good positive model in Korea. And also our institute showing a lot of the role models, the positive aging and then the active aging. So left, this woman is over 80, but still they are sewing and by herself. So she always emphasized that I do not have any dementia problem, and they're still very healthy. And also the right side, this gentleman's over 80, almost 90, but still very active. They are doing the very deliver the message, the positive aging. And the last page is, I would like to emphasize our positive aging is not only the very healthy people, but also the dementia patient and the vulnerable person also get the positive aging, because that's why we can develop the lots of good program for them. So I will showing the very positive aging in here programs. They are always laughing. So after this kind of a training, the cognitive effect is much better than before. So our institute is developing the lots of programs, this kind of positive emotion and then positive activities. So I would like to emphasize this kind of activity, showing the really positive aging. So we should talk about Now the average the life is the 100 years old. So without the positive aging, it is very difficult. So we must talk the order up with the active aging and the positive aging. Okay, this is my small talking about the positive aging in Korea. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you, Korea. Okay, and now we will move to Hong Kong with Teresa. Welcome, Bala. Welcome, Lenora.
Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. This is Teresa Tian from Hong Kong. I was the former professor of practice from the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. So today I am an honorary consultant of the Institute of Active Aging of Hong Kong Polytechnic University. So I would like to share with you what I have seen and I have learned on the campus of our university on positive ages, positive aging, and with some positive images. So today I would like to, next please. Just a few words about our Institute of Active Aging. We are, an institute at the Polytechnic University. We do research, education, training, and also a evidence-based practice on campus to promote active aging. Next. Today, I would like to share on one aspect of our evidence-based practice, which is lifelong learning. Of course, the other two are volunteer work, job retraining, and matching. But with the limited time, I would like to just concentrate on lifelong learning. Next. It's never too old to learn. From the image, you can see this young man, and he is 90 years old when he received our diploma in active aging. He has been studying ever since the institute was established. Until today, after 12 years, he's still learning, in different ways. Next. So I'm going to share with you the different, different ways of learning on campus. The first one, we offer credit-bearing courses. This is more for those people who you never have a chance to go to university and they have a dream of, going back to campus. So we have this 2-year part-time course where they have to teach, to learn like 10 subjects before they can receive this diploma. And actually they graduate with our young graduates. So you can see, how happy they are. Next. If you don't want to get credits, we have non-credit bearing. It's a mini university for 2 weeks on campus, where you will also learn, psychology, philosophy, health, exercise, and some leisure activities like dancing, how to pick a good pillow, how to count your calories, etc. And you also get a certificate when you graduate. Next. And we also, offer auditing programs to our, older adult students where they can join our classes. So this is my class, it's an introduction to gerontology, where I accepted 5, older adult students, and they attend classes with our students, and they're good models to my students by their questions and answers. Next. And we also, because among our young, older adults, they have a lot of talents. So we train them to be trainers so that they can be instructors on campus to teach their expertise, such as magic, calligraphy, philosophy, a lot of, items. Right now, we have more than 300 instructors. Next. And, we don't really learn only on campus. We go to ocean as well. We brought our students to cruise where they continue to learn at Costa and Royal Caribbean cruises. And, we open these classes to all the participants on cruise, and they are fascinated to see us. So they're learning like sitting Tai Chi and sign languages. Next. And finally, we also have intergenerational learning. They learn not only among the older adults, they learn with young students and also our university students. They even go on study tours to Japan, Korea, Singapore, to US. So, they like to broaden their horizons, not only on campus, but anywhere. Next. So I thank you for listening in. If you have any question, we can discuss later. Thank you very much.
Yay, from Hong Kong.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna go to Singapore. Lang Lang and Thelma. Okay, you'll have to unmute.
Okay, sorry.
There you go. I can hear you now.
Yeah. All right. Tama will go first. We really have the festive mood in mind, so we will be doing a general sweep to look into positive images in Singapore. Let me start doing that. Okay. Okay. So yeah, for I start with this image of Mr. Wee Charlie, who is 93 years old and still attending our Singapore Gerontological Society meeting and symposium. So we met on October 1st. And I think increasingly we are seeing more older people at over 90 years old and still active. Although we have to say that it's really a big feat for them to be able to beat this age barrier and really living healthily and joyfully within in the community. And I think another interesting thing, we are also seeing more men being very actively involved in community and as well as in the ripe old age. So next. Tama.
Thelma, that looks like you.
Yeah, can you hear me? You can hear me? Am I
Yeah.
on
Yes.
mute?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, this is Thelma K. To put everybody in a holiday mood, the first shot is a very recent shot of Orchard Road in Singapore, our iconic shopping road. It is all lit up for the holiday season. So it's really very festive in Singapore right now. The next shot is personal one. This is me welcoming all of you to Singapore. This is from the water vortex at Changi Airport. And we really, now that COVID is more relaxed now, we welcome everybody to come to Singapore. So now Leng will continue with set the stage for several shots. She will highlight different aspects of positive aging in Singapore. Over to you, Leng.
Thank you. So I think, in Singapore, there's so much emphasis on spending time with the family, especially after COVID, people able to get together. So I think what's one of the way we look at positive aging is really for older people to be able to have a chance to spend time with their grandchildren, to be able to spend time together in festive occasions, celebrating birthdays together and so forth. These are my parents and my niece, nephews, and my son. But that's one thing we feel that my parents, older people really see much value in spending time with their family. And the other things that we see increasingly in Singapore is also more and more opportunities for community life. So on the left side is a very recent Christmas gathering, and they have the older people, we have table for them to get together with the neighbors. It's a neighborhood kind of block party. So they get together to play ramio or mahjong together. And I want to emphasize that even, somebody is on wheelchair, is getting frail, I think it's still important to have a chance to meet up with old friends for a chit chat and for some time together. It's getting harder to meet up when everybody gets old. It's so hard to get out of the house. But I think that constitute an important positive aging, even in frail old age. And in Singapore too, it's very common, I'm sure in many other parts of the world, to see the parks in the morning bustling with seniors exercising in different groups. And these are some images I capture on a morning walk in the park. And then we also see more and more older people wanting to challenge new things. So this is Dexter, who's 80-year-old and trying out acting on a drama on stage for the first time. So I went to see the show and was really impressed. And then also this on the right-hand side is the same, the Christmas block party in the public housing estate, and where we set up a digital clinic for young residents to teach older residents about using of smartphone. Okay, so we end with
Wishing everybody
wishing all our friends happy holidays, a blessed Christmas and a really happy 2023. In Singapore, we are really opening up this year and starting to have the Marina Bay countdown again. That's where Thelma is staying now. It will be a beautiful plethora of lights and fireworks on the last day of 2022, ushering into the new year. So we hope all the best for all our ACAP friends, as well as for ACAP. More activities, more meetup in 2023.
Yay! And Selma, we're so jealous. I'm jealous. I would love to stay at that hotel. Look at that. That is gorgeous.
Hello. Hello.
Hi,
Yeah.
Bala.
Yeah. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to listen to these talks. I, being an elderly person of 84 plus.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. We have a few more speakers and then we're going to open it up, okay?
Yeah. Thank you. But at the same time, I would just like to have one question. Anybody can answer that. The thing is, though there are lovely children at home, we find some people are interested in staying in old age homes with all comforts even. So why such a feeling should happen?
Well, I think people are different. Some people like staying with family. My father did not want to stay with family. He wanted to be by himself. So I think just people are different, and it's good to have options, I think.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you too. So next we're going to hear from Brian and then Ed and then Takeo. Okay, so.
Okay. Greetings, everybody. I'm based in Hamilton, New Zealand, and it's Saturday late afternoon. some of you will have met me, I think, at conferences in the Asia Pacific area. Certainly, a number of you I know that I have met. My background really is in adult education and as a researcher in that area. More recently, I've taken on the role of being the chair of the age-friendly Hamilton steering group. That is a group, a voluntary group, really, a volunteer group under the auspices of the Hamilton City Council. So the whole concept of age friendliness, we're sort of revisiting and looking at seriously and seeing how it gets translated into actual action for the benefit of older people. All right, so I've just got a couple of slides here, and are very different in tone, I think. I mean, the first slide, I guess, is relatively serious, and the second is much more of humor. So you can see that I've been doing quite a lot of editing, actually, for journals and books, and the phrase "the elderly" keeps coming up, which in some ways disturbs me. If we can have a look at the next slide, please. I've noticed that the phrase "the elderly" comes up a lot in media and in official reports. I've been reading quite a lot of official reports in a book which I co-edited on Taiwan's senior learning movement, but also in other countries beyond Taiwan. And I was surprised when I was watching TV last night that on Television One, the presenter was talking about the elderly. And to me, I just feel uncomfortable when that phrase keeps coming up, because I think it has connotations which are not really linked into an age-friendly or an active aging kind of idea of society. So I think we need to avoid, if we can, and the people I'm talking to here, I realize are leaders in your countries. You may have some influence in looking at some of the documents or media statements to try and avoid in what I would call inadvertent ageism against seniors. Because I think the phrase itself has all sorts of different possible meanings, one of which is looking at decrepitude, people as being passive, older people as being passive, and reinforcing really dependence rather than independence or interdependence. So, but frankly, I think the phrase "the elderly" stigmatizes older people as some other group that's out there in society, different from us. And I think that's a fairly serious connotation. And as I mentioned in my brief remark before, the issue comes a lot in translating from Asian languages, particularly into English. And I think we can find other phrases that better support an active aging kind of vision. So it is tricky in translating from one language, and in some cases there are official documents or reports from governments that have the phrase "the elderly" embedded in them, and I don't feel, even if I'm editing something, I can touch that because it's come from the government. But I can encourage people who are working in the local environment to challenge the actual phrase "the elderly" that comes up. So what else could we do? What other phrases? Well, I think there are plenty of alternatives. I've mentioned some here: seniors, just older people, older adults, elders. Now, elders, I think, is somewhat different from the elderly. Elders in New Zealand has a special significance, I think, with the local indigenous Maori, where they use special phrases of kaumatua for men and kuia for women as being elders and respective of wisdom in society. So essentially, I think this is a labeling issue, right? So if we can find better labels other than the elderly, I just encourage you to use those other labels. So that's, I guess, the more serious side of things. So if we can have a look now at the next slide.
I don't think she has the next slide, so I'm going to share it right here because I have it. And this is the picture that Brian sent.
Okay. So you may wonder who these two people are that are on this tandem bicycle. Well, they're actually my parents-in-law. So that's Joe, that's in the front, and Teresa at the back. And these photos were basically superimposed on the tandem bicycle. Joe and Teresa passed away some years ago, but whenever I see this image, I think of really positive things of them. And if you have a look at what's behind Joe and Teresa on the bicycle, you can see the sea, and you can see low hills or mountains. That's actually a view from the beach house which they owned, and fortunately passed on to Katerina, my wife, myself, and her twin sister Margaret and her husband. So that's our view from our beach house, which will be at on occasion over the summer period, but mainly the grandchildren get first access. Children and grandchildren get first access. So Joe and Teresa, I guess, were a little slightly more traditional in their older age, but Joe in particular was his hobby was wood turning, and he did some really fantastic wood turning when he died into his 90s. So this particular scene is from, if you look up in your map, look up New Zealand, look up the North Island, and look up the Coromandel Peninsula. That's where that's taken from. So thank you, Joe and Teresa, for reminding us of the fun that we can have.
Yeah.
I doubt we're all going to want to come stay at your house.
Catherine?
Yes, a very short question.
What's that?
Bala has a very short question.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
See, the word elderly and older people, these two, I just want to give my opinion about it. Because always the word old could be attached to anything which is becoming old. Whereas elderly, it is only for human beings, I think. So in that way, it gains some respect when you say elderly. It's not a wrong term. Because if you find only a better term, we can use that. But till such time, instead of older people, we can use elderly. This is what I feel.
Yeah, I think each of us will have perhaps a different perspective on that, and I respect your point of view. I mean, what I guess upsets me is when I see in people in their 50s and 60s been described as elderly. I mean, just me is the middle-aged. You know, anyway, that's.
I think that we have to be careful when we say the poor, the elderly, the disabled. And I think that there is a big movement to try to move us away from making groups like that, but to say people with disabilities, people who are older, you know, to just, you know, use the word people first, and then, you know, and not just say the disabled as if they are all the same. So it was very interesting editing the bulletin after I got your piece about that, and taking out all the elderlies and putting in older people. I think I missed a couple, but it was pretty interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank
you, Bala. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, Ed Gerlach, now I have your slides.
Okay.
Need to
Can you
find
hear
them.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Now, Ed and I have been friends for, I don't know, 40 years or something. When did you move to Hawaii?
I don't think I can remember any of those things.
Long time ago.
Seemed like last year. Well, the elderly population of the Philippines, the population of the Philippines is 110 million, and older people would be about 10% of that, but it's the fastest growing part of the population. Before I talk, don't count this as time, I want to give you two biases that I personally have. One of those biases is I hate to hear people say we must empower older people. My belief is that older people can only empower themselves. Other people can help in that process, but and our experience is there are people who don't wish to be empowered, and we respect that. But secondly, I also have to think that of the older people, no, I can't remember what that was. Anyway, I want to give you a very brief description of the Coalition of Services of the Elderly, 3 quick programs. When we're organizing older people, and usually it's in urban poor areas, it's community organizing. And so people come up with 3 priorities which they have. First one is healthcare. Second one is income. And the third one is kind of what you might call cultural, but cultural has to be explained. It's not only birthday parties and dancing, etc., but it's groups coming together and talking about what they have in common and building kind of a consensus, though. So in the case of healthcare, healthcare is kind of an exchange of gifts. We were very fortunate that someone on our board was the one who introduced geriatric care in the Philippines. And so there were doctors who went to our organized groups and asked people, are you willing to become health workers yourselves? And so older people became community health workers, and they learned from medical doctors how to take blood pressure, take temperature, massaging, etc., etc. But it was an exchange of gifts in the sense of older people taught the doctors about herbal medicine, taught them how to do massaging, and even something about this spiritual kind of healing, which I don't know too much about, but the net effect of that was a psychological effect that people in urban poor areas had someone who was responsible for their health. The second thing is income generating projects, and we could have a special session on that. But I'll just give you one example. In a lot of really rural areas, you have kind of a booth where older people cook. And so drivers and workers, etc., will eat at those places. And it's just a chalkboard that has the 4 or 5 different kind of things that are there. So when you sit down in a place like that and it's just a stool, you get a big hunk of rice. And if you like, you can go over to the 4 or 5 pots and look inside, but it's usually vegetables or fish or meat. And that's all you get. They have no dessert. There's no air conditioning. There are no waiters. The older people will wash your dishes for you. But I have to say, honestly, you get more food and you get it at McDonald's, and it's more nutritious. And it's cheaper. It's cheaper than it is at McDonald's. So a lot of people frequent these places. I could give you a list of really creative things that older people, one group invented a miracle kind of thing that you massage people with sore limbs with, and nobody knows the ingredients except the inventor. But people have a lot of suspicions of what that might be. And the third one, of course, is the cultural one. And I don't want to dwell on it because I just want to talk about advocacy. Because the group has gotten together, and around the Congress building in Quezon City here, there are 7 or 8 groups that are organized. So a lot of the people work at the place where the politicians meet. And so they asked one of their favorite Congress people if he wouldn't put in a bill to give a social pension to the poorest of the poor. Well, he said he would be willing to do that if they would help him to put it together. So older people were coming from urban poor areas and sitting in the office of the congressman, and they put together a bill. Make a long story short, it passed. It was good for about 2 years, but you can imagine trying to determine who is the poorest of the poor is an extremely difficult task. And so 2 years later, they came back and they said it doesn't work. We need a universal pension for everybody. And so actually, there are some congressmen who also get the universal pension. But that bill passed. And not only did the bill pass, but it had a provision that there would be a sectoral representative from the older people to sit and, think about bills that were being proposed and also propose things for older people. And so presently there are a little more than 900 groups in the Philippines, community-based programs of older people. But that's not a good figure because we're only really able to work with about 250 of the groups who are in the greater Manila area and the nearby provinces. We have one person who circulates around the country trying to catch those other 600 groups and have them sit down together. But the long range plan is if we could somehow get computers and talk to people all over the country, our dream is to have a national movement of older people who actually, we already have that with that person in Congress and with 250 groups organized. But think of what it would be if we had over 1,000 groups all over the country. We could take over the country. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And actually, Ed sent a number of photos, so I'm going to.
This is the health program. That woman is the head of the community gerontologist. I want to just say, this woman used to have a T-shirt and it had CG written on it. And when I asked her, what is CG? She said, it's not call girl, honey. It's community gerontologist. This is the store where I didn't tell you about income generating, but people make all kinds of things like rugs. They make herbal medicine. They make food stuff, and they bring it to this. That's community-based program of elderly. But this woman sells it. This is on the way to the beach. The Navy gave a free beach to about 5 groups. So it was very good for people talking to each other about their different programs, etc. It was about 1,000 people at the beach, but the Navy not only supplied the bus, but they gave lunch. And for lunch, we had crab and lobster, something a lot of us had never eaten before.
Wow.
And this is
Cultural dance.
this is a tinikling. This is in one of the urban poor areas. And regularly there are entertainments for birthdays, etc. And they invite the whole community to come.
This is my favorite.
This one we use all the time, but I saw this woman and I wanted to take her photo, and you can see she sells fish. You can see them on her arm. But her husband saw me and he ran up to her and kissed her. This is the president of the Philippines, but he was in Congress at the time. And when we had that bill in Congress, people went to Congress to get him to sign support for this Ninoy Aquino, who has since died.
Wow. Thank you, Philippines.
You're welcome.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. We don't hear from the Philippines very often, so that was a real treat. Thank you. Okay, now we have Takeo Ogawa from Japan.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'll say the images of all the persons in Japan now. And this is a very famous pictures. Cartoonist Machiko Hasegawa drew images of a 56 years old Namhei Isono and 53 years old Fune Isono and 90 for the sixth cartoon series Sazae-san. It's a very famous Japanese cartoon. At that time, the average life expectancy was 50.1 years for men and 54.0 years for women. But after that, in 2015, 105 years old Hidekichi Miyazaki accomplished Guinness records as the world's oldest sprinters. And she already died, but centenarian's ability is a very, very splendid one. And also in 2014, 100 years old Nagaoka, Mieko Nagaoka, she lived in Yamaguchi prefectures, completed the 1,400 meters swimming. She already died, but her record is very famous in Japan now. And we can see the life expectancy in 2015 was 80.8 years for men and 87.0 years for women. The life expectancy in 2020 was 81.6 years for men and 87.7 years for women. A big change has completed in Japan now. And we cannot image these kind of Sazae-san's images of older persons. 53 years old man is in Japan a very young man now. And this is a big change in Japan. Then this is a very famous famous Instagrammers Kimiko Nishimoto take pictures, very humorous scenes, and she is living a sad life. She said, "I know until I tried." She every time said. And this thought taking away her or lapping her with garbage bag? No. She can go ahead. She can fly up in a virtual reality. This kind of a photograph is very famous in Japan now. Every older person can enjoy in a virtual reality now. And also, in 1981, the one famous song, Computer Grandma, which broadcasted on NHK in 1981 for children, was a song about an elderly grandmother born in the Meiji period, but also stubborn, erudite, and fluent in English. This image come true in 21st century now. For example, Masako Wakamiya, she is now alive, is an IT evangelist in Japan. In 1997, at the age of 62, he retired from a bank and bought her first personal computers. In 2017, at the age of 81, he developed the iPhone applications Hinadan and is a world oldest programmers. She also designed clothing using Excel. She is an authorized promoter for digital transformations in Japan now. This is a big change of the image of older persons. Then I have several times wrote this kind of a change of the older person. This is one book. It's a my little chapter is included. At the time, I'm refer to the changing social concept of the age toward the active senior citizens. And this is one result. Another one is recently I wrote in a AARP international journals, and I wrote the Urashima stories in a region in Japan. And this is referred to the very big change of the older person's images. And maybe we can image our concept of myself. Maybe this image is transferred to the younger generations. Then the younger generation can image, and their dreams come true in near futures. This is my message. Thank you very much.
Yay. Okay, very good. Well, thank you, everyone. So, Bala, I'm just wondering if you have another question. Or hello, Lenora, if you have a question or comment, or Catherine Klein.
Well, I can comment. I should put myself back on video here. Just to introduce myself very, very briefly, I'm the co-chair of something that I wrote in the chat box called the General Assembly of Partners, Older Persons Partner Constituency Group, that got started leading up to the UN Habitat 3 in Quito, Ecuador in October 2016. And we continue as part of a coalition. So I'm thrilled to encounter you and your group, and have invited Catherine or someone else as a representative to join us voluntarily. There's no obligation at all, except that we learn from each other. And I send out weekly emails with extensive notes, and I'm going to send you mine, Catherine, from tonight, because it's the way I can feel I can share information. But I know quite a bit about the World Health Organization age-friendly cities and communities. New York City was actually the first one that was accredited by WHO, but I'd love to talk to any of you, and I'll put my email in the chat box. So thank you for including me.
Oh, that's great, Catherine. Yes, one of my students is very interested in the evaluation of the WHO age-friendly cities. So I'll put you two in touch. Okay, thank you very much. Well, any comments on any of our speakers or presentations? Or I just have to say that I've always learned something new when I go to an ACAP webinar, or when Taryn and I put together the bulletin, and it's just a privilege to be able to learn from all of you and to be able to share new ideas and new spins on old ideas. So this is a growing network. So thank you very much. Bala, you have a comment? No, she put her.
Yeah. The thing is, nothing specially connected with the talks, but what I would like to say is, in India, I'm sorry to say that, people may even scold me for saying this, many elderly persons are suffering. They are not in good condition, especially even for food, minimum food, and then minimum health aspects. They are not given much importance at all. So in that way, what is the government going to do? What are the private people are going to do? When they talk very proudly about I did this, I did that and all. Did they care for this elderly? That's what it is happening, because being a elderly person here in India, now at Toronto now, with my son who has taken very good care of me, that I should say. So there in Pune, I am with my daughter. But at the same time, we find what is the, I mean, redemption, how to do it? Who are going to do? That's my question.
Yeah, so I think that India has some rich people, some well-off people, but many people who are poor, and the United States is getting close to that. We in Hawaii, we have about half of our people who don't have enough food already. So we are becoming, you know, I think, well, the U.S. is going downhill. But I think Ed Gerlach's example of how to organize people to speak for themselves and to make some more demands is quite a good one. I think the Philippines also has many people that live in poverty, and how can we organize them? And I think Ed's examples of really helping people get to talk to the Congress people is a good one that we should try to promote. But I agree, it is a very big issue, and it is a big issue for every country that has a large percentage of people that are underprivileged, that just don't have enough. And I'm afraid the United States is coming this way very quickly. So,
If I can make a comment.
yes, please.
Just getting back to the age-friendly notion, Catherine, I'd be really keen to find out a lot more from you. I mean, I've taken over being chair about 6 months ago in this city, and it seems to me the WHO framework is very useful. The challenge for us is to get beyond talk. I mean, we get together fairly regularly and talk about the issues in Hamilton. And a good example has just come to the surface recently. I mean, the housing situation in New Zealand is not good. And we don't have much data on how senior citizens are experiencing what's happening to them in this housing shortage, and what's happened to social housing within the country. I think our role really is to be advocates, and I've been corresponding with the Salvation Army actually locally, who know quite a lot. There's a report they put out about housing in New Zealand, so I contacted them and said, "Well, do anybody know about Hamilton City?" And they admitted they didn't know much about the seniors in Hamilton City. They knew about housing in the general sense, but not more specifically what's happening to older people, say in this city or other environments in the country. So it seems to me that we need to identify specific issues and advocate for change to improve the lives of older people.
Yes, I totally agree. And I see Thelma has her hand up, Catherine and Ed. So Thelma, do you want to go first? I saw your hand first.
Yeah,
Hi,
okay.
Ching.
Hi. I just wanted to add on, when I was discussing with Ling about our slides, and I was thinking that we should, like, everything is looking very rosy, but there are some aspects that we have to point out that are not so rosy, negative aspects, which we are now, I'm glad this has been raised, because even in wealthy Singapore, we have older persons who are sort of lonely. You can see actually, especially old men, they're gathering together in coffee shops, and also finance remains a big problem, especially those with families who are very small families or who are alone. And of course, with healthcare, there's a big problem because of the rising costs. So we are looking for solutions to all these problems. And Brian is right. Let's pinpoint those problems and then tackle them one by one. For example, we now have an integrated health system. We have a lot of engagement of the community. And then what are we going to do? There's a community care now. What can we all do? And I'm very glad also to hear from the Philippines to have solutions to all these, not perfect solutions, but at least we have to address these problems, especially when our populations are aging so rapidly. So thank you for raising these issues. Of course, we don't want to spoil the holiday spirit, we don't want to spoil the festivities, but still, I think it's good to rejoice when we can, but also don't forget those who are being left behind. That's my 2 cents worth.
Yes, thank you. And
Right.
Catherine, and then
Yeah, very quickly. And again,
and
I
Ed.
put my email there because I've been at this advocacy for over 15 years here in New York. So I have a lot of information about even the current stuff, Brian, that I'd be happy, and Ed, to share about WHO and age-friendly cities. And just wondering if you know about 2 other ways to learn. One is the International Federation on Aging, based in Toronto, has weekly Friday webinars. I take voluminous notes. So Catherine, I'm happy if you join, you will get and you can share it with all the people. And they're from all over the world. The one today was on East Africa and dealing with ageism from a really amazing person who is making a difference, just so we don't end up feeling like there's nothing that can be done. And then finally, in April here in New York at the UN, there's the 13th session for the Open-Ended Working Group on Aging, and we have been struggling and advocating for many, many years to get a convention on the rights of older persons, which would make a huge difference, because I work closely with persons with disabilities. And Catherine, you're 100% right. We also really, really advocate not to use the word elderly, because for governments, for them, it's an issue of how much we cost, never taking into account what our contributions are. Elders is different, but we tend to use just like what you were saying, Catherine. So I can give you information about the Open-Ended Working Group, because what we've learned is it's extraordinarily important to get people locally to start working. And in the Philippines, if you can get the Philippines on board and to send somebody to advocate here in New York in April, that would make a huge difference. So thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thanks. And Ed, I think you had a comment too. You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
I forgot to mention, when that bill was being proposed in Congress, the galleries were filled with people from urban poor areas, no? And so the Congress people, as they were discussing this, kept looking over their shoulder. And when the thing finally passed, everybody stood up and clapped, something you're not allowed to do in Congress. But it just goes to show you the influence of numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, but somebody has to help organize that, get the bus, tell people the schedule, tell people the importance of it. So that's just like Catherine is telling us about the UN, when to get there. Yeah, Ed, are you still on mute? Or you're on mute again?
I just wanted to add, the people who are sitting in the galleries, that was their issue. I mean, it's not a matter of organizing people about it's talking with people about their lives and what they want for their own families and their own future, and organizing around that basis. And incidentally, thank you very much for inviting me for this forum.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've heard from everybody but Lenora. If you want to say anything, Lenora. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming. It's always great to see you and to share. I think we do need to have some webinars on poverty, that would be a very good one. Poverty among the elderly. I mean, it's not a happy subject, but I think we have to, you can't really age actively if you don't have enough food or if you don't have housing. So it is these are critical issues. And also on age-friendly cities and communities, we've had some talks on that before, but I would like to it would be a good time to get an update and hear from different countries on that. So very excellent ideas have come forward today. So thank you, everybody, and Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Happy New Year, Happy Lunar New Year, Happy Holidays.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
happy
also.
ACAP. Yay.
Happy
Wonderful.
holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have
See you